Well, of course, these are some of the details that weren't, of course, divulged to us just as yet because, you know, it was still an active investigation at the time, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, the detective did allude to a few of the details where he thought the incident occurred, and then, of course, he let us know on video a couple of things that stood out to him. Of course, was at around a time where he believes it happened, and then a time where he stated that our son was speaking to another teacher and actually made the statement that Mrs. Merrill broke my hand. And then, of course, that teacher responded with nothing, basically. Hey, let's go take you to the nurse, which we were told that day by the principal that the nurse was on duty. Other staff, so nothing in your mind said, you know what, this is a 5-year-old kid. Let's make sure he's okay. If he's saying that, let's make sure he's okay. And, you know, these are all big questions that we had as to the handling of the situation and why was it handled in such a manner that our son's voice wasn't heard at a time when he needed it. And then, of course, looking at the time frame, being at school at least from about 10 to about 2:50 dismissal, that's about what, 4 hours or so?
So he spent the whole day at school?
He was at school.
At school.
All
day. All day. No one called us or anything.
After voicing that he was in pain,
Correct.
he spent the remainder of the day. And
Correct. He expressed that to another teacher.
Not even a phone call.
Not even a phone call.
No nurse's visit. Now, mind you, again, we just moved here. So we're prepping for the new year. Oh, they need shot records. Oh, okay, so we submitted all those things. We had a couple missing. They can't come to school until those shot records are in. So we've gotten those communications. We were told to come get our kids when they didn't have shots and things like that. I'm being emailed by Mrs. Merrill from August 13th up until probably like sometime end of the month, early September, of his behaviors and things like this. Mind you, my son has already had an IEP implemented and in place since he was in pre-K. He's been diagnosed with autism since about the same time. And he has a plan. So of course, my big question is, I'll tell you a little history of myself. As you can see, I wear my veteran hat. I'm a veteran, combat veteran. I'm a former police officer. I worked for the Department of Children and Families at a certain point in my life, and also worked in the schools. This is before I even had 2 children that were diagnosed with autism, okay? But I always knew there was a missing link between certain behaviors that are looked at or put under a connotation of negative, and then behaviors that are, wait, is there more?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I'm saying all that to say, these things were in his plan. She spouted off all these things at the Meet the Parent a few weeks or about a week or so before school started about she's done so well with special education children. She has all these certificates and she has such a high success rate of getting them to read and write. So of course, I worked in the education system for some time. I took that as okay. I was able to feel like I had a woosah, right?
Yeah.
But that's every parent's fear. My boys have, other than their autism, they've had speech delay, speech impediments, things like that. So even in their early years, and my wife will tell you, I was against childcare. I was against all these different things because of a very situation like this. Because my kids can't speak up for themselves in certain situations. Luckily, over the years, Noah has gotten better, but my other son is still dealing with speech issues, and he's a year older than him. But there was this right here was always a fear of mine to have to experience this as a parent, and even for her to make such arrogant, if you will, comment like self-defense. My son is barely 40 pounds, about 3 foot, 3.5 feet tall, and he's in kindergarten. And to make such a claim as self-defense, and I know my wife is kind of having a hard time I've learned how to shelve those types of feelings right now because I know that this is a matter that takes great focus. I'm his father, that's his mother. We're his protectors. And we felt like entrusting our son to a system and it failed him, that made me feel bad as a parent. Like I didn't protect my 5-year-old son. And that is one of the most difficult things that I have to deal with. He's still dealing with trauma, He's still dealing with all that. And that's tough to watch. He's trying to balance between being 5, so he still does 5-year-old things, but then you can tell when we kind of try to ease into the conversation, we're trying to introduce him back to school because we know at the same time, yes, this is a very traumatic thing, but of course, we're in that juggle of being good parents. Well, he needs to be educated, so we transfer schools. That isn't working. To hear your 5-year-old son, who once enjoyed school, tell you, no, Daddy, I don't want to go to school right now. Maybe next time. Maybe next time. To hear your 5-year-old son, this is supposed to be tender years. Kindergarten, most of us remember kindergarten, it was fun. We had snacks, we watched movies, we took a nap, we ate, we went on field trips. Usually the kindergarten teacher is synonymous to things like that. Fun, caring, gentle. But she's everything of the otherwise. She's the counterpart to that. The antithesis, if you will.
I hate to spring this information on you, but I want to ask, when you see these new details that you hadn't known prior for the first time, what's running through your mind? What's the basis of it that makes you feel the most emotional?
She's evil.
Hurt.
She's evil.
A lot of hurt.
Go ahead.
Just know no one was there to protect him, and just to know that, you trust people with your kids, and it's hard. It's hard. It's really hard to see that, that she even admitted to doing some of the, the things that he said she did. And nothing in here says someone helped him. Nothing in here said someone checked on him.
Empathy.
You know what I mean?
Empathy towards him.
It's just torture. This is torturous.
It is
torture.
Torturous. I agree.
You bump your finger and you like, ouch. Just imagine someone breaking your fingers, and no one came to help my son. That's the most disappointing part, that he told someone what happened and nobody helped. Nobody called us, Nobody called us. Nobody, it's sickening.
Have you been able to ask administrators, why didn't anyone call us? Why wasn't
Of course.
Yes,
we sat there and we got no answers.
What was their response in real time? What did they say to you?
Well, one of the ladies, the assistant principal, she didn't even speak up for I want to say a good 30 minutes. And then she's, something happened with Noah in the hallway. Something happened with your son in the hallway. And I asked the teacher if she needed help, and she said, no, I'm fine. He's fine. He's fine.
We took care of it.
I took care of it.
Or something to that effect. And then to hear a statement like that, and then to find out within a space of time, to interpret, I took care of that.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, don't apologize. Don't apologize at all.
It's horrendous. There's a dark shadow of evilness over her behavior, and there's nothing to justify what she's trying to do. Of course, that's why I use the word arrogance. Arrogance is a blindness that certain people use to guise bad behavior. Well, if it wasn't for this, then I wouldn't have done this, or da 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 da. And to see this for the first time, it gives me great pause, because Like I said, I've served my country, I've served my community, I've served children for most of my life. And I would never in a million years try to harm any of them. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. When I worked with kids, I always wanted to convey a message to them that I'm just like your dad. I'm like your big brother. And I tried to do my best to build that type of relationship with whatever children I've dealt with. And to see this misstep in the care, it's horrible.
And you had spoken to Miss Merrill previously,
All the
leading up
time.
to school. Do you feel like you had built that relationship with trust?
That's what I was trying to build. And you know, when the school year started, I'm glad you said it that way. When the school year started, my wife will tell you, I almost have a little script, if you will, with every time I introduce myself to a new teacher. And I'm telling you, my wife will attest this, we are here. We'll never be those not my child parents. We will be there. We will stop what we're doing and we'll be there. You can ask any of our children's prior educators, and if there's an incident or anything, they always have had our full support. We've always known that they can call us and we'll be there. And we've always lived at least a stone's throw from schools. Purposely, we try to find a situation where
Or we can
we
have
were
a fast
communicating.
reaction.
Correct. We were communicative all the way up until, coincidentally, September 4th, the date of this incident. Why didn't you email me then? Why didn't you call me then? Because you know what you did. You tried to cover your behavior. I believe, what I do believe, and I'm just gonna say this in the raw, I believe she would have tried to cover it up and spin it, hoping that we were those type of lackluster, laissez-faire parents, and we would not pay attention to our child, and he would come to school the next day, and then she could probably say, what's wrong with you, and then make a false report to take the blame off her. I firmly believe that she would do that. I have really good discernment, I have really good judgment of people, and I really do believe that she would have done that. And all her emails, as I go back and I read through them, it feels like she was trying to build a story to get to a certain point. Because about a week earlier, and this really hurts my feelings, because when they were getting ready to go to school one day, he said, Daddy, I don't want to go to school. He said, Mrs. Merrill is mean. And I said, she's mean? I said, what did she do? He said, she threw my snack in the garbage. She was throwing my snacks in the garbage. She threw it away. I said, were you done with it? He said, no, she threw it away. And she's mean. And I tried to shelve it. I put a pin in it. And I said, well, maybe, you know, things are interpretive, right? Maybe he just felt like he wasn't done yet. I let that one pass. And then he's made other statements along the time leading up to September 4th about her disposition towards him. And we're not naive. I love educators. I love teachers. I'm friends with most of my teachers, all the way back to my 5th grade teacher. Her and I are friends on Facebook. But I also know that teachers are human. I also know that, and with that, they may not always have the best interests either, unfortunately, you know. Again, I'm not a naive person, I'm not jaded. I don't feel like all people are bad. I don't feel like, oh, well, nothing will ever happen. But to have this behavior occur to our child, there's no justification for this.
Yeah.
But I bet you this, we're gonna do all we can. That's why we're here now. We're gonna do all we can to not just speak for our child, but for other parents to know, please talk to your children. Check backpacks, check in, do mental check-ins. Are you okay? We can't just assume nowadays, and that's so hard to wrap my head around, and I'm not that old. Wrap my head around the fact that now you almost can't even trust an educator.
And this is someone who had stated to you that she has experience.
Extensive
Yeah.
experience and training.
And you have similar experience
Correct.
too as well.
I worked with, that was my specialty.
Yes.
I worked with special needs children. Go ahead and ask your, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Do you believe that this, for someone who's so experienced to work with kids with disabilities, with kids with autism, to still be an educator, do you believe that it's possible that she was able to lose her temper so bad to fracture, or even if it was unintentional, to fracture 2 of his fingers, knowing that she's had this experience? And was this shocking to you? You know, someone who has experience, who deals with, you know, the ups and downs. What was your reaction to that? Because this is someone who you were building a relationship with, of trust, knowing that, oh, she has experience, my kids are in good hands.
Correct.
What was that experience like for you when you realized that she was capable of this?
I'm going to lend some of your words. Yes, it definitely was shocking. It definitely was I was taken aback. To the extent, like you said, you said you were trained to do this. You spouted off your success rate of dealing with children with intellectual disability. You said that. But then your behavior says adversely. It says something way differently. What happened? What truly happened? She may never tell us, because I believe that there's a heavy form of arrogance within her. She'll probably never say why she truly did it. So I have to, I guess, try to make peace with that and continue as his parents to try to help him unpack dealing with my kindergarten teacher broke my fingers.
When Noah comes home that day and he's in pain, and you remember what he had told you a few days prior,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that he expressed that he doesn't feel comfortable with his teacher.
Correct.
What were your immediate reactions, you know, looking at your son in pain and knowing that he was already in a state of uncomfortability at school?
I felt like I failed my son. I felt like I failed my baby, and I spent all those years trying to set up as many protective measures to keep him from a situation like this, and it happened. And he told us something, and I dismissed it, and I let him go into harm's way, and that hurts me. But I will tell you this, I'm a smart man. And I will not take accountability for her behavior. Pflugerville ISD and Mrs. Merrill will have to take accountability for that part, because we should be able to trust you. You gave us verbal confirmation and affirmation that you would do well by our son. And again, to take those words that she said, I took care of it, it's fine, I got it, or whatever verbiage was used, and then within a space of time my son's fingers are broken, that one spoke volumes to me. Other than the self-defense statement, that just really, that always resonates. It sits in my mind. I took care of it. I took care of a 5-year-old.
And Mrs. Moore, for you, what's that like?
I feel misled. I feel that Austin ISD failed my child. Pflugerville, sorry, not Austin ISD. But I feel like he knows the difference between a good teacher and a bad teacher. You know,
he's told us that too.
He said his previous teacher was a good teacher and she was nice to him, and that his new teacher was a bad teacher for him. And I feel like there's really nothing you could possibly do for us as far as to reassure us now, right? We feel unsafe. We feel unsafe with even still being in Pflugerville, even though we just moved here. We just feel unsafe. We feel unprotected. We feel like our children are unprotected, even though we have to send them to school, because we've been getting calls from the school saying that they can't miss days, but they were even scared to go back to school as well. So this is very hard.
An arrest was made today. and a detective called you and said, this is the update in the case. What were the reactions when you received this phone call?
A little bit of relief, right? But still feeling, unsure of the next steps. It was like finally, right?
Correct. Correct.
So it's well over 10 days later.
Correct.
Have you wondered why now?
Why now?
Mm-hmm.
Why now?
Definitely.
Because I feel like before we even came to the news with our story, they were just moving like snails, and you guys got this. If you look at the report, the dates of when you got the information to up to now is kind of stretched, so I feel like this could have moved a lot faster. I feel like still, I don't know. I don't feel like he's still been, I just feel like, I don't know. I'm just lost for words.
And then another
really.
thing I'm sorry, and I just noticed something in here where she's saying she uses pressure as a form of de-escalation.
Which no one gave her permission to do that.
I want to see the TEA rules on using pressure on an intellectually disabled person. What does that mean? I need to find out what that means.
And that's not
how do we
in
articulate
his,
pressure? When I was in the schools, we had a technique where I would use a pincer grip around the wrist like this to keep them there. That was what I was taught. I was never taught to take a hand or to distort or contort body parts at any point. And then there's other, of course, escalative measures to take, but I've never used pressure. The last time I used pressure on someone is when I was in law enforcement, and that person usually was committing a criminal activity. You get where I'm trying to go with that? That's the last time I used pressure to de-escalate. And then even to put those two words together, it almost sounds far removed. De-escalate with pressure. Usually de-escalation means I'm modeling a behavior that I want the other person to model. There's something in law enforcement called verbal judo. When someone's high, you go low. Hey, you use hand gestures. Just calm down. Look into their eyes. I'm saying all that to say, where was his plan followed? Where was his behavioral plan and his IEP followed? That doesn't look like something that would be conducive to changing or redirecting a child's behavior. That doesn't look like that to me. So I would like to know what Pflugerville ISD will say about a statement made like this. Using pressure to de-escalate a 5-year-old autistic child. That sounds really weird to me. I don't like how that's worded.
And so you go to the doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's confirmed.
It is confirmed.
His fingers are fractured.
Correct.
What was the doctor's reaction?
Immediate emotion. The doctor, and we're so appreciative of the staff at St. David's North, they were impeccably kind, they were compassionate, and the nurse, I wish I could say her name, I want to give her credit, she was very kind to us, even embraced my wife in that moment after breaking that news. She had tears in her eyes. She says, the first thing she said, and that's when we knew it was confirmed, she said, "I'm so sorry." And you can see the tears welting up in her eyes. And she said, "Yes, 2 of your son's fingers are broken."
In that moment when it's confirmed for you from medical professionals, how does it make you feel knowing that your son was correct, he's been injured, and you didn't know for the whole day? And
The
you have
whole day.
You have a medical staff physically embracing you with empathy. How do you feel at the end of the day,
Right. Many things. Where were you, Pflugerville Elementary? Where were you when we needed that embracing? Where were you when we needed those answers? Why was my son suffering all day with 2 broken fingers, and he told your staff members that happened to him, and no one helped him. I'm just echoing my wife. Why? Why was there such a miss?
You see the picture of the x-ray, and you can imagine the type of pain that caused to a young boy who's still processing everything that happens. If it's difficult for us to process, I can imagine how difficult it is for someone that young to be able to understand, being injured in this way. What has he shared with you? How has his behavior been since the incident?
Like I said, he's trying to balance between being a 5-year-old kid and trying to understand why my teacher would do this to me. As a matter of fact, on our way to the interview, the forensic interview, without any encouragement or any, motivation from us, he said, angry people hurt kids. He just blurted that out on the way. He can't even sleep in his own bed now. He wants to sleep in our room now. And if anyone knows our son, he is the epitome of brave. He is a strong kid. He has a very strong mindset. He has very strong convictions at 5. And he loved his independence. He liked to go to his room, play with his cars, do his thing. Now, when the lights go off and the house comes to that silence, we hear him pitter-pattering towards our room every night like clockwork now. And he just hops in the bed with us, and I embrace him, or my wife, whoever's up, we embrace him. So that's the effect this is having on him.
What's the effect that it's having on you? I can imagine that in a situation like this, where you trusted someone, you just moved here, you're out on a limb, you're trusting someone. How is this affecting your ability to trust someone ever again in the future, with your children, in general?
Like I said, I'm not jaded, but I am a realist. So I'm trying to still have that faith, okay? But it's very hard. Like I said already, I'm already very protective. If you have something to say, you can. I don't know.
It's hard.
I don't know.
As a mother, it's hard as it's just hard to trust anyone with my kids at this point,
Yeah,
and it's
trust is broken.
and it's like it feels so much pressure of, oh well, they're missing school, they're out of school, so it kind of puts you in a position where it's like you have to trust the school system, right? After the trauma, in the midst of this, we're getting calls, hey, they're missing class,
this can look bad.
Things like that. This won't, this will count against them if they're not. So we're pressured to, okay, well, let's just switch to school so they don't get in any trouble. Not even having compassion for us and even offering us a second option. Can some homeschooling go on?
Can we get some Chromebooks?
Can we get some Chromebooks? Can we get some, you know what I mean? Instead of pressuring us to put our children back into school because it'll count against them. It's been a horrible experience.
It has.
This has been a horrible experience. Mm-hmm. And
we're new business owners. We literally had to kind of scale back because we want to be there for our son. We're new business owners. We were thinking, okay, we're thriving. We've moved into a nice neighborhood, a better neighborhood and things like that, better schools. We've done our research. We've done these things. So this really was very shocking because we did our research. It's an anomaly. Like, to hear such good things and then to see such bad behavior, bad things happen on the back end.
When this story was published on our website initially, it was posted to social media, and the comments that came in were of parents saying, "This is my worst nightmare."
Correct.
If that were me.
Correct.
Those types of scenarios. There's a lot of support from the community, especially from parents who dread this type of situation.
Correct.
How does it make you feel knowing that there's a community of people who are sending this type of empathy towards you, knowing that this must have been one of the worst experiences of your life?
It's been overwhelmingly just pleasant for people to support us, you know. Like my cousin called you all the way from Arizona.
Yes,
She called you all the way from Arizona. And she's so passionate about kids, and she's passionate about her family. And, you know, just having her, you know, words of encouragement and, no, keep fighting, you know, it gets frustrating when you just want to give up, you know. And just to see your child, and all the other kids are going to school, and he's just like,
Yep.
you know.
As soon as we bring it up, his whole demeanor just changes.
His whole demeanor changes.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time.
Does he want to talk about that day at all?
He'll talk about the
He'll
energy,
talk about it,
but
he'll
he
talk-
don't want to
but he-
get any
right,
deeper than that.
right.
He'll just shut down.
right?
He don't. He want to talk about something else. Even when he's seeing the news with us on it and we're talking about it, he just shuts down. And he's like, "Turn off the phone. I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to hear that.
I don't want to hear it. Turn off your phone." So
At 5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For people who don't know Noah, what's he like?
Like I was already kind of saying, he is one of the biggest charmers. He is such a cute kid. He's smart. He's brave. He's one of those kids that will go to that little jungle gym there and go to the highest heights. And it creeps me out because I have to be the one to go in there and try to grab. You know, I try to grab because he'll go.
and he loves people.
He
like
does.
if he
That's
seen
the
you,
so
he
scary.
will run up
He
to
would
you and give
literally-
you a hug.
Yeah.
He loves people.
You can even ask the investigating detective, even while all this is happening and through all that trauma. And I think it's because he knows that his dad was in law enforcement. He literally went up to the detective and hugged him.
He told the doctors, "Thank you for
Thank
fixing
you
my
for
hand.
fixing my hand.
Thank you for helping me." You know, like he's such a sweet kid. He's a sweet kid.
But he has things that can conflict with that. Overstimulation, things that they should know. Okay, the lunchroom is too loud. If you're a behavior specialist, you study these things, you should know that there's a correlation between the ears ringing and all the noise that could send him into an angst. And he will shut down, and he will go through crisis because that's a lot for him. Why didn't we get him noise cancellation headphones? What were the steps that needed to be taken? You know, but like I said, he, other than battling a disability that he did not ask for, that boy. He's a good
great
kid. He's
a
so
great
charming.
kid.
He's sweet.
Helpful. He's
Yep.
sweet. His sister was going to school the other day. He said, "Have a good day, sweetheart."
Yeah.
And you know, and it's just, you know, it makes me happy that he's so strong, you know, and he's battling with it, but you can tell that it has put a damage on his heart, on his trust with people, you know. And that's what hurt us the most.
Yeah. Because I can hear all the details and stuff, and that part hurts. But to see that happen to my son, that's the part I was trying to hold it in. Cry, but that's the part I try to hold in a lot, because that behavior is so opposite of him, and someone else was responsible, stole that from him. That was stolen from him. This was like a robbery almost. Not even abuse, like a robbery. And that's what it feels like that was stolen from him. And that part really hurts. Beyond the physical wounds, knowing that the mental wounds that he has to, and we have to help him nurse back into good health. Yeah.
The arrest is made, and it's the road continues for
Correct.
justice being served here. How do you hope that happens? What do you hope happens for, you know, his teachers?
Well, the first word that comes to my mind is accountability. Accountability, take responsibility for what's going on. Don't try to, shrink away from your responsibility for speaking up on this matter. It happened. It happened now. Now we're here. Now we have to address it. I used to tell my Marines, I used to tell other people who I've spoken to, you have to address the mess. Address the mess that was made. There's a mess, it needs to be cleaned up. Let's clean it up and hope that another child is not, even right now, we never know. We're sitting here having an interview right now. There may be another child that just went home and had to tell their parents this similar or even worse news.
Yeah. And this will play out in an appropriate form of a court of law. Do you hope that she's able to return to the education field?
Never.
No.
She can't be trusted around kids. I don't even think she can be trusted around her own. I have 6 kids. Never have I ever did anything to hurt them. And for you to get that angry or whatever was going through your mind at that time.
And to be with child.
Yeah, and
She's
to be
pregnant. To
What-
harm a child while you're pregnant.
It's dangerous. That's crazy.
That's creepy.
Usually, like, okay, you have some.
You have a
kind
different level of
compassion.
sensitivity,
Yeah.
right? Because now, of course, I'm not a woman, so I won't speak that. But
And what do you hope from the school district?
I hope from the school district to get the support that we need. I hope that they offer more support for us.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that they hold her accountable,
Mm-hmm.
as we will hold them accountable
Mm-hmm.
as well. I hope that they're, for the most part, the people that we have spoken with from Pflugerville ISD have been kind.
Yes.
And they have been nice, but it's always a runaround and to get you here, to go there, so there's never no direct answers.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeking answers,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to know
Mm-hmm.
what's the next step and
And-
how can we,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone is taking so many, personal losses, stress. This is a very stressful situation, and I can barely talk about it without crying. That's why I'm not doing a lot of talking, because it's so painful. It's a painful situation, and I just want them to be more, do some more backgrounds on these people that they're putting in the schools, so.
And not even just background, because that's kind of getting ready to go to kind of my part of the response to that is the training.
Mm-hmm.
Let's revisit some things. When we're doing PDs, professional developments, what are we talking about? Are we taking special attention towards how do we deal with children with intellectual disabilities, with autism, with whatever it may be, even if it's just behavioral? How do we handle those situations? And to make sure that the teachers that are entrusted with caring for them, there is some type of confirmed and written training and things that they need to have completed or been visibly watched, conduct, and those things need to be looked at through reviews and different things like that throughout the year to ensure that there is not another Noah. We don't want another one of these. We don't want it. We don't. So, training. And there's something that when I was a young man and I was working in the grocery stores in high school, I remember I was having a bad day. And I think my wife has a similar story as well. She had a certain job and was kind of having a bad day. And the manager of that, for me it was the manager, for you I think it was the owner. If this is not what you want to do, don't do it. Back off. If this has become too hard for you, if doing this job, if serving this community, this demographic, has become too hard, do everyone a favor. Back off. Go do some introspective things. Okay, what do I need to why is this annoying me? Last year it didn't annoy me. Why this year is it? And be true to yourself as an educator, as a whatever it may be, a caregiver, whatever it may be when you're dealing with people with disabilities and things like that. Take that step back, and if it's not a fit anymore, do yourself and everyone a favor. Back off.
I'm appreciative of you guys sharing
Thank you.
your story with me and your vulnerability, and I'm grateful to know who Noah is. And
Thank you.
This does not define him or your family in no means at all. But before we end the interview, I want to ask, is there anything else that you all want to share that maybe I haven't yet asked you?
I just can't emphasize it enough. Our role as parents in that protective sense is to listen to and care for our kids, and then act. Listen, take it in, okay, and then act. Whatever that action may be after that, following up with the schools, try to get a little more information from your child, whatever it may be. But let's be sensitive to our children and listen to them. For those with children with special needs like us, they need us. Sometimes their behaviors don't match what we know of them because they're trying to learn how to navigate feelings that people without intellectual disabilities can only imagine, cannot fathom. And like I said in the beginning, it can look negative or like a behavior that, why are you doing that? What is wrong? But that may be the only way they know how to communicate at that time. So we have to, again, take a step back and then reapproach with something that can keep everybody safe. Safe physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever. That's what I would want to resonate with people. That's the message I would want to convey.
Well, thank you both so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate this story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you still?
Thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button and get the latest news by downloading the CBS Austin News app.